Hey guys, I decided that I was going to do a vlog throughout my time with COVID as an immunocompromised patient who is on anti-rejection meds because I am a transplant patient. Um, I feel like this could be a great opportunity for education and to let others who are also in the same position in regards to being organ recipients or even others who are severely immunocompromised to maybe get a feeling of what it's like to have COVID, so they can kind of see what it could be like, and perhaps and hopefully not as scary as you may think. Now, I say that lightly because I want everybody to know that everybody's situation is always going to be different. Our bodies react to COVID differently, depending on if you've had your shots, if you haven't, how many you've had. Um, but nonetheless, I still wanted to do this so you guys could at least get somewhat of an idea, for those who have always wondered. So, today's the first day of the vlog, day one. I was diagnosed with Omicron, the newest strain of COVID, last night. So I'm gonna call this day one, even though I've had the symptoms for a couple of days now. We'll go ahead and call this day one, my first full day with COVID. I want to start by telling you guys kind of how it came about. 3 days ago now. 3 days ago now, I felt that I was getting just a regular cold, or a sinus infection. I woke up one morning and my nose was running just a little, just a tiny bit of a sore throat, and that was about it. So I did what I would always do in that situation. I took some Tylenol. Later in the day, as I felt like it was getting just a little bit worse with the sniffles and the sore throat, I began taking some Dayquil and some of the cough drops, the Hall's cough drops, to help soothe that. So for that entire day, it felt just like a small cold, nothing really more. But overnight and then the next day, so that would have been the day before yesterday, I noticed that the sore throat had gotten a lot worse, and my chest actually had a lot of congestion, and when I would cough, it actually felt like a burning sensation, um, and it hurt pretty badly. So quite a jump from the first day to the second day, and so that's when I started thinking, okay, I've had sinus infections turn into bronchitis as well as pneumonia, because I have had double lung pneumonia just within the past month. So my first thought was like, oh no, here we go again. I'm going right back to the pneumonia. I was coughing up phlegm and things like that, and my throat was sore. Um, but on this day, I began having a fever, and my fever got to about 102. So I started the process of what I think you should do as an immunocompromised patient or a transplant patient. I informed my doctors, I informed my nephrologist here at home, and I then informed my transplant team, which was at Vanderbilt. And they both gave me the same type of advice. They said, keep an eye on those symptoms, but most importantly, go get tested. Go get tested for the flu and go get tested for COVID. That's usually the first things they want you to do, because they hopefully want to knock those off the list as possible issues. So I wasn't able to get in that day to get a COVID test because everything was already filled. I know here in Knoxville, things are just so bad that it's taken a couple of days just to get a test. And if it's not one of the rapid tests, it's going to be a couple of days more just to get the results. That's just a sign at how widespread and how bad things are. That's not, fear, trying to put fear or anything in anybody. That's just kind of the reality, and I'm just simply stating that. I think most of you guys know that right now. So my symptoms basically stayed the same. They just got worse. The cough became more painful. It became more frequent. I did notice that I was coughing up, like a brownish red phlegm. The fever kept bouncing up and down. When it peaked at 102, it never got back to that point. I began taking Tylenol, and after a while, that started to come down. It never bounced back up that high, but I did maintain somewhat of a fever between 100.5 and roughly 101 point something. So still had a fever, but it was never as severe as it was. Um, so yesterday was the day I was able to get in and get tested, but I wasn't able to get tested until yesterday evening. So during the day yesterday, same thing, nothing changed. Still felt like I had a really severe sinus infection that possibly was turning into bronchitis or pneumonia. But it wasn't until yesterday that I kind of, I will say I had like an oh crap moment. That was when I put body spray on after I got out of the shower, and my wife Heather was like, "Oh my gosh, like it's too strong. Like it smells too strong. You must have used too much." And I had no idea what she was talking about. I could not smell a thing, and I didn't realize that until she mentioned that. So what I did was I went back into my bedroom. I took just one of my shirts I had, sprayed a bunch of cologne on it, and I couldn't smell anything. And this was my strongest cologne, and that was my oh crap moment. Like this may be COVID. Um, and so I went in and I told my wife. I went immediately to the kitchen because I hadn't really been eating much because I was sick. So I hadn't even really thought about the taste thing because even so, with a sinus infection, with having congestion and your nose stopped up and things like that, food's going to taste maybe different anyways. Um, so I went and I grabbed some food that definitely has flavor to it. I ate it, yeah, and it was nothing. It's the weirdest thing to have to eat something that you know is flavorful, but you can't taste it. Um, which still isn't as weird as not being able to smell something. That still blows my mind that I can spray cologne, put my nose up to it, and you can't smell anything. So that's when I figured like, okay, this is probably COVID, and I started taking certain precautions at that point. Put a mask on, stayed away from my wife as far as I could, and so I went and got tested yesterday. They came back and said, yes, you tested positive for COVID. Their instructions, for those of you who are wondering, they'll tell you to make sure you get as much rest. Of course, you want to isolate yourself for at least 5 days. I think that's per CDC guidelines. So you do want to try to stay away from family members that live with you, especially ones like mine who are pregnant, which unfortunately is very difficult for a lot of people. I do want to touch on that. It's a lot easier said than done, especially if you have a smaller house and you really only have one main living area aside from the bedroom. It can make it pretty difficult. But they also, as immunosuppressed patients, there is a, gosh, I just lost the name of it. It's malo, I can't remember it, but it's an infusion that you can take, and it'll help ease the symptoms for those who are immunocompromised and the symptoms of COVID. Now, the unfortunate part is it sounds like that medicine too is kind of far and few between right now because it's been requested so much that they've even had to tighten certain qualifications on who can get it and who can't. So I have reached out to my nephrologist here in Knoxville. He does know. He is going to sign me up and see and apply me for the infusion. I guess I'll find out maybe today if I'm able to get that or not. So we'll see. But yeah, other than that, it feels like a severe sinus infection. And at some points, in my case, it does feel like pneumonia because my chest burns so badly when I cough. I don't know if you can tell in my voice. My voice is, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit because my throat's so sore. And the doctor did tell me I had more of moderate symptoms with COVID. And again, that probably goes back to being immunocompromised. And in regards to the 5 days that they want you to isolate and quarantine. He said it may take a day or two longer since I am a transplant patient. So if you are somebody who's immunocompromised and you find out you have COVID, do understand that it may take a couple of days longer. That's okay. Just do what you got to do to make sure you get through this. The number one thing that they told me is to stay hydrated, drink as many fluids as possible, and just relax. Find Netflix, find you a couple of shows you want to binge watch, and just realize that's all you need to be doing at that time. You got to take care of ourselves. We got to make sure our implanted organs are okay. I think that's our number one priority when we're dealing with something like COVID. So don't feel bad if you have to hit pause on everything else and you just need to relax. Even if you feel like your symptoms are mild, that's good, but you still want to take it seriously as immunocompromised patients, because you just never know. If it may get worse. It may be okay and may not feel bad at all for the entire 5 days, and that's amazing. But you always want to be careful. You always want to be cautious because you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself, so that way you're taking care of that donated organ that you've received. But that's about all for day one. Yeah, I still feel the same as I did yesterday and the day before. So I'm going to go back to what I was doing, which was relaxing and trying to catch a movie and try to take some medicine. Oh, which actually reminds me, there isn't really anything you take for COVID, but my doctor has sent me in a prescription to my pharmacy. He said it's basically to help me relax and sleep at night. He mentioned the word, oh gosh, what is it? It's the nausea medicine, like Finnegan. Yeah. It's not that, but it's like that. Okay, so it's supposed to dry up a lot of the stuff, that's caused by sinus infections and, runny nose and things like that. But it also, of course, makes you tired and just kind of relaxes you so you can sleep. But that's the only medicine that I've been given for that. So, all right, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you guys are trying to enjoy the start to your new year. If you do have COVID or if you've had it, I hope everything's okay. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's fine. If you haven't, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing something right. Keep trying to maintain a distance from folks. Do wear your mask. No, masks don't sound like they're 100%, and neither are the shots. But let me tell you this, and I do want to make this clear. I had all 3 of my shots. So that does include the booster, and I wear my mask. I have COVID. But I'm gonna make this very clear. Had I not had my shots, in all likelihood, I would probably be in ICU, hooked up, and possibly on a ventilator, because my body would have 0 immune system to begin with, and then it has 0 antibodies fighting back against it, and that can be very dangerous. Fortunately, I do have my shots, and I'm sitting here at home talking to you guys, doing this vlog. So that right there is your difference of why maybe you should or shouldn't get your vaccine. Of course, it's your choice, as always, but I figured I have a voice, I have an opinion, and I have proof here right in front of you that the shot can and does make a difference. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'm going to go back and take a nap and try to get over this thing in the next 4 or 5 days. All right, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow for day 2. Bye.